Sometimes I get asked, yo Falcon, why make these videos? You're obviously glorifying other groups of women, so on and so forth. Look, a key factor to the Falcon Blizzak channel is to relay personal experiences that might help or support other people, particularly black men, in their own endeavors. So once again, as a disclaimer, this video and the information it contains forms my own ignorant viewpoint from my own limited life experiences here in the UK, as we are talking about British women. As always, this is a video that aims to support the group that call themselves the Passport Bros. You know, a group of black men who wish to travel for many reasons, but primarily for familial reasons. Obviously, Britain is a country formed by many other countries: England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. So this is, again, of course, a massive generalization in general. British women are absolutely modern women, you know, in the sense that these are generally women who have aspirations beyond being a quote-unquote stay-at-home mum or even being a mother at all. You know, following your dreams and going to further education, you know, climbing the corporate ladder, etc. But what I think British women have that a lot of women I've experienced might not have is a good deal of so-called common sense, a universally accepted sense of humor, and even as modern women, there are some elements of traditional features that are a nod to old-fashioned ideals, like supporting the monarchy, for example. And I think British women are not as unhinged as other European groups of women, meaning old-fashioned ideals of decency still exist. And I'll delve deeper into that. So when it comes to culture, it's always hard to define British culture today. While a Christian country at its core, there's a lot of atheists, and atheism is on the rise, meaning, you know, obviously less religious tendencies. What is massive with British women in general is the drinking culture. I think socially, British women are introverts, as in we like to keep to ourselves, you know, not be too outrageous or offensive and not stand out too much. But when it comes to the weekend, it's as if all of those introspective behaviors become unleashed. Tobacco and alcohol and drugs become sources of escapism. So I'm not saying British women are drug addicts or unhealthy as a group, but what I'm saying is that there is a prone behavior towards utilizing these vices because of social issues, right? And the thing is that, of course, Britain, a modern society, so we have the information and education to know how to be healthy. So you might find a woman who is very keen on being fit and healthy, but then as a double standard will also be up there in drinking and smoking. So this is an example of the culture clash that exists within Britain. And in fact, in my eyes, it's creating a phenomenon whereby cultural norms are becoming unapparent and unseen and unknown. So it might be creating a group of women who are kind of aimless and don't know what to anchor to. You know, might be prone to living other alternative lifestyles. You know, so it's really a mixture of things. Appearance-wise, you have the so-called average European look. I think the British look is not incredibly distinct. You know, there's always been a mixture of different tribes in Britain. So you've got the red-haired look, or you've got the dark look, you've got the light blonde look, and you've got the predominant brown brunette look. I think British people in general have a negative stereotype in the form of having big, bad buck teeth, which I don't think to be too true, or maybe even bad breath, again, which I don't think is very true. But again, bad habits like smoking, drinking, and the high sugar content can also, of course, add to that. Body tends to be average, an average look. Again, there's nothing that seems to stand out when we think of British women. There's no particular feature. I don't know, you might think of a particular feature when you think of, let's say, Brazilian women. You might think of a particular feature when you might think of Thai women. But when it comes to Britain, it's just, I guess, an average or not too big, not too small, bang in the middle type of appearance. When it comes to attitude, because of the less religiosity plus modernity, in general, the attitude is that of there is a feminist mindset that is very apparent in the society. And in many cases, the ideas of a traditional lifestyle is frowned upon. There might be instances where you might know someone who wants to be traditional, who wants to be a stay-at-home mom, who wants to be a loving housewife, but when she goes out into the group, when she goes into the masses, she'll be frowned upon and she'll be questioned, and she might even be accosted as her being a part of the problem as to why women are being quote-unquote held back. The general attitude is to frown on tradition at the moment, from my perspective. And so if you're a guy who wants more of a traditional, or you hold on to traditional values, maybe in your religion and in your family life setup, it's going to be hard to find it in this society. But I also do believe that there is a growing sect of women who are becoming pro-conservative, and that will also mean conserving old values, religious values, principles. And again, as mentioned before, because of the drinking and the smoking is very high, especially over the weekend, there is this sense of a Jekyll and Hyde persona, where it comes from this very stern professional individual that becomes this quiet, loose, unhealthy individual on the weekend or at nighttime, seeking highs. When it comes to understanding Black culture, I think this is one of the benefits, of British women in general, is that because we've lived quite close for a long time in the form of the British Empire, there is more of an understanding of Black culture. I think Britain is one of the few countries in Europe who observe a quote-unquote Black History Month. I think in that regard, there is less likelihood of being a fetish, being this exotic, different piece of meat that serves no other function but to satisfy curiosity. There are some people that would argue that there's nothing wrong with becoming a fetish, but the fact of the matter is, if you are a fetish because of your race, skin tone, then that means you are not very special. Because when another person with the similar visage and similar qualities come around, then they are also fair game. So that's my thing against being a fetish. It's absolutely degrading in my eyes. And this is just coming from someone who is, I like to maintain dignity. And again, of course, the roots of the country being rooted in Christianity, Christian values would be generally understood. A lot of British women go to Christian girls' school or a Catholic only girls' school coming up, so they'll be praying and doing all of that coming up. So there will generally be a good understanding of the Christian values. So I think in general, British women typically won't be naive to Black people, or won't have this, fetish obsession type response to, for example, having mixed children, something else that I've seen from other groups of people. And also, speaking of children, I think that with this type of understanding, British women will probably know how to groom a mixed or Black child, in terms of moisturizing, in terms of the hair creams, in terms of knowing how to deal with the hair, in terms of understanding social issues, right? When it comes to the parents' generation, British society is very classist. Obviously, there was a high degree of discrimination during the colonial era. But I think in general, British people are in a dilemma, in the sense that you will find a lot of people who are proud of the empire, proud of old war heroes, but then there's a sizable group of people who are against them because they believe, for example, the empire was wholly bad, and these war heroes also expressed a very evil, racist side to them, which would be unacceptable in today's age. So I think the history of Britain is something that tears a lot of people in two. There might be a lot of confusion or being back and forth about certain things. When it comes to things like accepting black men within their family, for example, I think that, yes, it's still a delicate and sensitive topic, but I think British people are somewhere in the middle with regards to being accepting of things like an interracial family, which in my opinion I don't think is a bad thing and I don't think is a good thing. I'm just the bystander, I'm not here to dictate or control how people think or what people want for their own families, but this is just how I see it. If we think that the general typical Scandinavian parents would be very open, and if we say the typical Italian family will be very closed to the idea of an interracial family, then I think British people lie somewhere in the middle. When it comes to education, of course, education is strongly enforced in Britain. So most British women will be highly educated to a degree level, and if not highly educated, they'll be very professional in other sectors. So again, when we marry up to the ideas of being traditional, it's more the case that it is going to be, what the illustration is that a man and a woman will both work and come together in this 50-50 split. I don't know, when it comes to things like going out on dates, don't be surprised if women will say or request to pay 50-50. But this is also another dilemma because, again, there is a fair rejection of traditional ideals here in Britain. But yet, when it comes to the dating scenario, some people might have these modern approaches, but we also require you to pay 100% of the date. And I know this is something that, a lot of men take umbrage with. But generally speaking, British women making their own money, in some cases making more than some men. And that also can translate into women in their late 20s, 30s who are still just focusing on their career, so without family. So it might be a typical thing that families are being produced at a later stage, if at all, in life. So my conclusion is that I think British women have a good deal of common sense, good sense of humor, and are very much in the middle when it comes to certain things. Perhaps one of the benefits of having the British Empire was that it brought a lot of different groups of people together in a way that makes British people less likely to be ignorant towards these other groups, right? But there's also this yearning within Britain to find that identity that existed before having, a large-scale empire. What is traditional British food? What is traditional British music? What are these traditional British values that might have been lost in the passage of going out to conquer other lands, for example? I think that this is where a lot of British people are spiritually trying to find themselves, especially post-colonial era. British women follow suit in the sense that, of course, they are modern women, but I think they also have their pulse to the past and favor in some traditional elements versus some other groups of people. But once again, this is my own ignorant viewpoint of how British women treat black men. What did I miss? What did I get right? What did I get wrong? Feel free to put your comments below. Like the video if you like this type of video and you want to see more in the future. I've got some more planned, so check them out. Check out also my other videos on this topic that you can see now on the screen. So just click on any one of these. But for now, it's your man, Falcon Blizzak out. Peace.